Very large virtual environments are now commonplace. Huge public places, entire virtual cities, countries, or whole globes can be easily modeled. However, in most cases, these environments are empty of humans. The task of creating crowds to populate such environments and then animate these crowds is a challenging problem which difficulty strongly increases with the scale. In this paper, we present a novel technique to animate crowds from example motions using an evolved cut and paste technique. In a first step, the approach automatically searches for almost periodic portions of crowd motion data. And in the second step, the approach searches for possible connections between different portions of data. We then rely on the crowd patches framework introduced by Yosin and colleagues to populate virtual environments with repeatable and connectable set of patches textured with realistic crowds. In the first part, we analyze real data to extract almost periodic trajectories from which we try to create repeatable crowd patches. In this example, we gather this 1D data from real experiments which displays characteristic stop-and-go phenomena. The main issue we face with real data is that, in general, it is impossible to extract a periodic portion from human trajectories. If we perform a representation of these paths with time on the vertical axis, we can observe the positions both in space and in time of each character entering or leaving the portion of data. Given a duration, one can now check whether the patch is almost periodic. An almost periodic patch has the same number of characters at the start and at the end of the patch. As real data does not display exact periodic motions, our process uses motion editing techniques to slightly alter the data. To this effect, we devised a periodicity metric which actually measures the capacity of a patch to be periodic. In a second step, we search the whole databases of trajectories for all couples of patches that offer the best possibilities in connecting to each other. As real data does not provide straightforward possibilities of connection, we devised a connectivity metric which measures the capacity of a patch to connect with another patch. Only the patches which imply the minimum modifications on the trajectories are altered. In the last step, we demonstrate how to build complex motions from repeated patches of motion data. The first example relies on 1D data to create a quasi-infinite line of characters. The results are realistic since the process relies on real data, and the stop-and-go phenomenon is clearly visible. Furthermore, the process is very efficient since we only replay existing data. Realism occurs at two levels. At a local scale, as we see in this close view, the technique perfectly captures and reproduces characteristics of the captured motion. And at a global scale, we observe that the technique properly conveys the stop-and-go waves between connected patches. The second example relies on data from 3 lanes of simultaneously crossing characters. By restricting the search to the center part of the data, we have been able to identify a diverse range of patches. We have connected and repeated instances of one single patch in a very regular grid layout. The point we highlight here is not the global realism of the motions, but the local realism of the crossings, which is very difficult to reproduce with simulation techniques, and the continuity between the patches. For the purpose of illustration, we have seamlessly composed patches from the 3-lane example with patches from the 1D example in an application to Crossroads. Though the resulting video clearly displays the repetition of the patterns, only 2 simple motions have been employed and patched together. This way of composing motions opens great perspectives for easily populating city environments. This last example relies on a capture session where 24 people standing in circle were asked to exchange their position with a diametrically opposed point. Such a situation leads to extremely complex interactions between characters, which are difficult to reproduce with simulation techniques. Multiple patches are extracted from these datasets and are connected together in a very large environment with tens of thousands of characters. Resulting motions and connections between patches are seamless. Finally, a clear benefit of our technique stands in the fact that motions can be globally deformed within reasonable limits to create variety and augment the possibilities of connection. Patches can be bent or straightened, which influences the location of the characters on the path. Changes in speed can be performed by scaling the height of the patches, i.e. the duration of the period. Interestingly, density can be changed by scaling the whole patch, which in turn influences the speed of the characters. Finally, one can paste the patches in a virtual environment, either using the transformations to adapt the patches to existing static obstacles, or placing the obstacles between the trajectories. Our approach preserves the visual aspect of motions and enables the creation of complex and compelling crowd animations in very large environments. Given that animations are mostly replayed from existing data, the computational cost of our technique is very low. This approach lays the foundations for smarter authoring tools to edit, populate, and animate very large virtual environments.